Hey, friends. This is Martine Williams, and I am obsessed with all things Mompreneur life and helping you to remix your priorities, your habits, your mindsets, and yes, even your relationships so that you can build a successful business without losing yourself in the process. I'm also obsessed with the color turquoise and lyrics of the 80s and 90s, but that's beside the point. Girlfriend, you don't have to hustle 24/7, 365 and continue to sacrifice your health, your relationships, and your sanity to be a successful mompreneur. As a small town girl living in a lonely world to a six-figure mompreneur, I am here to teach you how. There is a better way, and this podcast is your one-stop shop for all of the how-tos, the encouragement, the life hacks, the success tips, and of course, a little side of tough love. This is the Mompreneur Life Remixed podcast. So let's do this. What's up, friends? I hope you're having an awesome day. It's about to get even more awesome after you listen to this episode and the Turquoise Talk that I have today with my friend, my mentor, and business coach for over 10 years, Shari McAllister. She's just an amazing woman who is so vulnerable in sharing how she didn't get it right. A lot of times, she did allow herself to get burnout for a long time. She did not have great harmony and balance, as she shares on this episode, but also what happened because of that, and then what she changed to really impact and create the harmony that she knows that she needed. She shares some very honest conversations about her children and the impact of being a mompreneur has had positively and negatively over the years with them. I just love one of the things that she said about her daughter, because Shari has been the breadwinner, not the sole, but the main breadwinner for her family when she was coming up as a mompreneur. And she said, I couldn't stay home more, but I could give her more. And she was talking about Carly, and I wrote that down. I love it. And you are just going to love this episode. So a little bit about Shari, if you're not familiar with her. Shari has been in the direct sales industry since 1985 as a consultant, a home office executive, and currently as president of her own speaking, training, and consulting business. She is the reason that I have a six-figure income with my online business with 31 gifts. For the last many years, Shari has worked as a consultant and mentor to home office executives and has been contracted as an acting VP of sales and national field trainer. She is the author of the best-selling book, Party Plan Success, From Basics to Big Results, and the co-author of the book, Direct Selling Power. So if you're in direct sales, you're really going to love this episode, but even if you're not, you will benefit. Some of Shari's accomplishments include building a $14 million organization with 140 leaders in just 6 years. 6 of those leaders reached the top of the level of leadership, earning a six-figure income. Shari also took a startup company from just 4 leaders to 38, increased their party average by more than 150 in 18 months. Shari's training really is cutting edge, having been in the field as recently as 2000 to 2005 and personally holding 150 to 175 parties per year. Through her coaching with leaders of all levels in the industry, Shari is constantly aware of and actively solving new challenges in today's market. Today's customer, hostess, consultant, and leader are very different than they were even a few years ago. And that's why she's been such a great coach, because she stays relevant. She continues to coach field leaders about 40 hours per week to stay current with today's market and challenges and provide solutions for market shifts and challenges. She has led thousands of leaders to build multi-million-dollar organizations and six-figure incomes. I am one of those. Shari prides herself in not being a motivational speaker, but a motivational teacher. And you will definitely hear the teaching coming out in her in this episode. You will not leave without a plan when you were talking and hearing from Shari. Instead, you will be motivated by her fun, energetic style, and excited because you will have a step-by-step plan to achieve your dreams and your goals. So y'all, get ready, get your pen, your paper, and let's do this. Well, welcome back, friends, to the Mompreneur Life Remixed podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in and for subscribing to the show. Today's Turquoise Talks episode gives us another opportunity to hear from another mompreneur and one that has been my business coach for over 10 years. She is the reason I was able to take my business to a 6-figure income and build the lifestyle that my family and I are enjoying today. She was one of the first mompreneurs I knew I wanted to have on this show because without her guidance and coaching, who knows where I would be as a mompreneur today. So it is my honor to welcome to the podcast my mentor, my coach, and my friend, Shari McAllister. Welcome, Shari.
Hey, thanks, Martine. I'm so excited to be here with you. Thanks for asking me.
Of course, of course. And I've been talking about launching a podcast for probably 2 years. So it's for sure a surreal moment. And I'm just so thankful that you were willing to give your time and your stories. And you're such an easy person to talk to. And you're just a great conversational person. So I'm excited to have you on the show and to have everyone hear a little bit about your journey. And so one of the first questions I always like to ask is, what inspired you to become a mompreneur? Because there may be a woman who's listening today who's not a mompreneur yet, or she's thinking about starting a side hustle, or she's seen this opportunity and she's not sure she wants to pull the trigger or that she can do it. So what inspired you to become a mompreneur?
Well, I don't even know if you know this, Martine, but it actually wasn't in regard to anything that I'm doing today. But I had 2 littles and I was pregnant, and I was working in the restaurant industry where, really there's no health care and no maternity leave or anything like that. So in the midst of that pregnancy, I decided to leave that industry and start a daycare that I ran for a few years. So that was just my opportunity to be home with my kids and actually increase my income to more than I was making at the daycare and still be home. So that was where I started.
I had no idea. Look, I'm learning too, people.
Yeah.
So, I always like to say that people really want to hear the mess before the success. So can you share, what's one thing you wish you would have known before you started either of your businesses? You've had multiple businesses. So, what's one thing that maybe was a common theme? Man, I really wish I would have known that before I started.
I can't say that it has anything to do with daycare. I just did that for a short period of time, 3 years, where I ran a center. But after that, I got started with a direct selling company. And, that's been my world for the last 35 years. But when I first started and moved into leading a team and bringing people into the business, and I wish I had known that most entrepreneurs don't think like you and I do. And, they don't necessarily have that drive or confidence or the understanding that you're in business for yourself and what it takes to be in business for yourself. And so I wish I had known that you can inspire people and teach people to have that drive and ambition and desire and confidence. So just instead of perhaps just you just don't think like I do and moving on, so we can help people really acquire those qualities that will make them successful too. So that was part of my journey, is learning that people just don't think like I do most of the time, and that's okay. We can help them anyway.
For sure. I mean, you have helped me grow leaps and bounds and in my own confidence. I mean, from my very first party, being in the direct sell industry as well, to now, I mean, you've seen it being my coach for over the last, over 10 years. So that is absolutely true. In any type of leadership role, we come across so many different personalities, and it is hard to be like, why doesn't she just think like me?
Yeah.
Why can't she just, but I do think it goes back to confidence. So, how would you say you've helped women to be more confident? Or if someone's listening and they're like, this is really an area that I struggle in, how do you stay confident?
How do I stay confident?
Yes.
Well,
is it just born in you? You've just always been a confident person, or, because in the beginning, being a mom, or in the beginning, being a business owner, there's all these learning curves, and the confidence can be a real issue. I know you've seen that in all the women that you've coached. Confidence is definitely an issue.
Absolutely. In fact, I would say 50% of the time when somebody, especially a top, a real successful person in my industry, comes to me for coaching, it's because they've lost that confidence and they were a big success, and all of a sudden it's just not working for them like it used to, and they feel like it's them. So And one of the things that I tell people, Martine, is that excitement and confidence are not things that we decide to be, or certainly not anything that we're born with. We're kind of a clean slate, empty slate when we're born. And all of those qualities and characteristics that become a part of us and who we are things that we learn throughout our life from our siblings and our parents and our peers and our bosses and other family members. They all sort of help us to become that person that we are, and hope we never really stop evolving into an even bigger and better person. So was I always confident? Of course not. It was, I was just as terrified as anybody else to do the things that you need to do to have a successful business, from, like you said, having a party to talking to somebody about the business. And, I'm from direct sales, but if you're in any kind of business for yourself, we have these fears that are a part of stepping out and making that leap. And the more success we have at something, anything, the more confident we become. And that just comes from practice and learning and trying new things and listening to other people's and getting a mentor and reading books and just getting better and better at what you do. And then you have the confidence. It's not like, oh, I think I'm going to be confident. It's that that just doesn't, we don't get to do that. Or, oh, I'm going to be excited. But when you start to have success, not only do you get confidence, but you also start to get excited about what you do. And then more success follows.
Well, it's always interesting to me that, women that just meet me, and you probably have the same thing. They think that we've always been that confident person. They're like, I just can't imagine that you ever struggled with confidence and self-esteem. And I mean, I really did, as, a young woman all the way up, even starting the business. So I love that you said, it really comes from doing the thing, right? Like just doing. And the more you do and the more success you get, the more your confidence builds. And it's not just something that, oh, she's always been that way. So I hope that encouraged, a mompreneur who's listening today that maybe is struggling with confidence. Like, you just have to do like I'm doing with this podcast, like I am learning how to be a podcast host. And so I am just doing the thing that I've put off for 2 years because I was waiting. Right. So thank you for sharing all that. So what is something that, I know you've had a lot of accomplishments over your life, but what is something you can look back on and share with us that you're like, wow, I did that. Like, that's my biggest accomplishment.
I saw this question and I've given it a lot of thought, and I don't know if I could give it one answer, but from a personal side, I would have to say it's my son. And for those of you mompreneurs who are struggling with, should I do this? Am I giving my business too much money? Do I have the balance? Blah, blah, blah. From my experience, I could tell you, my son was a troubled teen, and maybe some of you are experiencing that, and it's tough.
I'm in the teen mom world right now, so yes, I get you.
Yeah, I mean, he was
troubled mom.
Yeah. I get it. And I had 3 teens. I lived through 3 teens, and I just think teens are tough. They're trying to discover who they are. But my son he had a tough teen period. And then at 25, he woke up and he was a wonderful human being. But it was tough until then. And, but throughout he was a little guy when grade school, when I got involved in the industry that I'm in right now. And I worked hard at it, but I always felt like if I could model something for my children, a work ethic sense that would show them that if they worked hard for something and believed in themselves and didn't give up and were persistent and had success, that was a good thing, had goals, and worked hard towards those goals, that was a good thing. And if there's anything that I am most proud of today, it's not my business, Average to Excellence. It's who my son became and the success story that he is with his wife, with his job at Costco. He is a manager in IT at Costco. Awesome. And so he's just become a real happy, wonderful, confident success story with a incredible work ethic. I mean, they just love
like
him.
His mama.
Yeah, thanks.
Just
so
like his mama.
Yeah, that's and of course, just I'm so proud of my business as well, but my heart melts when I see what has happened with my son. So I hope that answers your question.
Spoken like a true mama, for sure. I mean, accomplishments. I mean, motherhood in and of itself is an accomplishment. I love that story. That was amazing.
Thanks.
So this is always the $1 million question. I get asked this, if not every day, every other day. And so I want you to think back to when you had littles at home, because I know they're not at home anymore, but I want you to kind of think back to when they were and when you were running your business. Like, how did you find that balance? I like to call it harmony instead of balance, as a mom, a wife, and an entrepreneur. Like, what were some of the key things that you did to help you keep that harmony?
If I was real honest, can I tell you that I found it later? And I wouldn't say that I had balance when I was building my organization in the direct sales world, or even when I started Average to Excellence. But shortly after I started Average to Excellence, Carly was still at home, and I even went back to when she was a teenager. I can remember looking up one day, and this is when I was the sole breadwinner for my family. And I was working real hard just to pay the bills, which was a struggle. It was like, one more party means we keep the lights on. So I was working really hard. And I looked up and, one day, and here's my beautiful blondie, sweet little daughter with black hair, black eyeliner, black fingernails, and black lipstick. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I think that there's, a signal here that she's trying to communicate to me. And it was simply that, Mom, what about me? And so it's not like I could stay home more, but I could give her more. And so she was the only one left at home. But when she got home at 3:30 from school, that was a stop time, just a absolute stop time for me. And we sat down and we played, oh my gosh, I just lost the name of the game, but it'll come back to me. But there was this game that we played every day, and we had tea and we just talked while we played. And it wasn't 30 days later that the black was gone, the blonde was back, and she just needed some attention from me that was all about her. So we did that until she moved out at 22, and then she became my executive assistant. When we traveled, we still played this game that's just, I don't know, for some reason lost me, but we would travel I'd speak at conferences and whatnot. We took it with us. Instead of tea, we had wine, but we still played this game. But when I started Average to Excellence, there was definite start time, stop time. So that is one of the things that I have really impressed upon the people that I mentor today. Is it's so important to have that balance. I mean, because when we're mompreneurs, we feel like we just need to work. And we feel like if we stop, that there's something that we're missing. Right. And that's just not the case. There's things that are important for us to do as mompreneurs and things that we just don't need to be doing, but we feel like we should. So just start times. This is my business hours. This is when I work, and this is when I stop. So that would be my best advice. You're done. You don't need to check text. You don't need to go back and check your computer. Just, I'm done for the day.
Well, because the fact is, there's always going to be more work to be done.
Yep.
There's always going to be more laundry to be done as well. So you just have to be able to, like you said you couldn't stay home more, but you could give her more. I love that. And I think that's really going to resonate with someone today who's struggling with keeping all the balls in the air. And they're like, well, I can't be home more, but it's almost like you said, being present, being fully present in that moment and giving them more in the moment will mean way more than giving them huge chunks of time that maybe you just don't have right now, because you are in that phase of your business where you're having to put more time there. And that's why I like to call it harmony versus balance, because I don't truly believe you can equally balance out all of your time across all the things that we're trying to do as mompreneurs, but you can find the harmony within all of it.
Yep, absolutely. I like that.
Okay. So I know that you actually were the first person to tell me I needed to get help in the business. And I remember telling you, what in the world would I even have her do? It just didn't even resonate with me at that time. And I know there's a lot of mompreneurs who are listening and they're afraid to ask for help. Number one, they feel like it shows weakness, because I hear that all the time. Number two, they just don't know where to kind of get started, or when is the right time to ask for help. And so when you were building your businesses, when did you ask for help? Like, when did you know you needed help? Whether it be in the home or in the business, needing an assistant. Is there like a magical time that you found, or was it just you knew when you knew?
Well, today I would know what I know.
Because you coach others on it.
That's
exactly.
right. There's nothing like hindsight, right?
Right. Yes.
So when I was building my business, and no matter what kind of business you're building, there's those early stages. I would have my kids do tasks and, little things that I could pay. So in my house, if they wanted extra money beyond their allowance, they had to earn it. It wasn't like we just really never just gave them money. So if they wanted to buy a blah, 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 then they could do some work for me, whether it was cleaning the bathroom or whether it was some work that would help me in my business. Either way, it was things that I did not have to do, and I could pay them, $10 an hour or $5 an hour when they were littler, or put them in front of a TV and let them watch a movie and they would do, an hour's worth of work for me. So it was just little things like that. But as the business began to build, then I really had to start thinking about, okay, so if you take your income, and mompreneurs, I want you to think about this too. When I look at my income, and let's say it's $5,000 a month and I work 40 hours a week. So how much am I making per hour? And then I'd look at a task and say, is this a $50 an hour task? Or is it a $10 an hour task? Because, does it require my expertise, or can some school kid do it? Or can I hire someone with a little bit stronger skill set at $15 an hour? And then as the business began to grow, I hired somebody that was, as I said, with a little bit more skill set, somebody that could do those executive assistant kind of tasks. And every time I brought in a new staff member, that year my revenue doubled because I was able to spend more time on those things that required my expertise. And so then as the income grew, we'd add another staff member until I was finally just doing only those things that required Shari's expertise and nothing else. So that's my suggestion to you, is that as your income and your business grows, that you get the help that you need so that you're not working more hours to support the business. And in fact, you're working less hours and making more. That's supposed to be the beautiful thing about being a mompreneur, is that you can build an income that exceeds the hours that you're working.
So good. I really hope that y'all are taking notes on this, and that you will, after listening to this podcast, really go and look at the hours you're working, the income you're bringing in, and would you pay someone to do some of the things that you're doing? And I love that you talked about your kids, because I tell women all the time, or I encourage women all the time, like, you might have free help right there in the house. Like, but I think it's this, well, number one, we can do it faster and better. So having to take the time to train someone or teach my child how to do that, it could just be already done, but it's still time away. Right. And so I think mompreneurs think, well, it has to be expensive to get help, or it's going to take more of my time to tell them or show them how to do it. But because I've had some of those same thoughts, but I hope that this helped you mompreneurs to really think about it in a different perspective, because it's so true that we got into this business, or you became a mompreneur, to give you more time to do the things that you really want to do. And the things that only you can do in your business is going to require you to ask for that help and bring in that expertise. The other thing about, go ahead, you want to say something?
I was just going to piggyback on that a tiny bit and say, because I heard that from one of my staff members when we were talking about bringing in somebody to relieve some of the things that they were doing. And he said, I can do it in 10 minutes. It's going to take me an hour to show them how to do it. And I said, and then that's 10 minutes that you never have to do again.
Yes.
For the next many years. So take an hour. That's, 50 minutes more than you have to do, but then it's 5 times later.
Right.
That hour's gone. And that's 10 minutes more that you can add back into your life for the rest of, their time here. So yeah, that's another way to think about it. But go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just, the other thing I wanted for us to talk about is this idea of investment versus expense, because whether it's looking, you think you need to hire a coach, or you need to go to a conference, or it's just this idea of well, that's an expense versus an investment into myself or investment into the business. I know you probably hear this a lot with the ladies that you coach, but is there anything that you could kind of share just on that? How do you help a mompreneur today really see that difference? And this is an investment versus just an expense. Because it's scary to invest I remember investing in a coach and investing in you. And I'm like, I don't know where this money is going to come from. But I also knew if I wanted to get to where I needed to go, I had done as much as I could do on my own. I needed to get help.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll just take you to my world for a moment. And I know not all of you are, maybe none of you are in direct sales, but whatever business you are doing, you can apply this example. When I'm talking to somebody that makes, let's say, $1,000 a month, and we do parties, so they can make $100, $150 in a couple of hours doing a party,
right?
In commissions. And so when they're worried about paying somebody $10 an hour to do some of those administrative tasks, like making hostess packets and making recruiting packets and entering customers into their database and just those things that really require zero expertise. A 10-year-old could do that today.
Right.
I'll say, okay, so let's say 3 hours a week, you pay somebody $10 an hour to do those administrative tasks. And you can spend those 3 hours making booking contacts and coaching those new hostesses that are going to hold parties for you so that you have more people at those parties. And you just book 2 parties in those 3 hours that you paid somebody. You can make 3 hours of booking contacts and hostess coaching. You've got 2 parties that's going to make you $300.
Right.
You're going to have higher attendance at those parties from the hostess coaching that you're doing. So it costs you $30 to make $300.
Yeah. I always love how you bring it back to the numbers, because that just gives you they're black and white, and they really just give you the perspective that you need. So I love that. So good. Okay. Well, let's shift gears a little bit to maybe more personal, personal stories or just your personal life as opposed to business. Do you have a morning routine or any daily disciplines to help you set up for success now, or even when your kids were at home? I know some things you do, but.
Oh, well, maybe you can remind me when I'm done here. So let's see if I missed anything.
Well, you run.
Oh, yes. But that's not a part of my morning routine. Sorry, but I can't even, no. I am not one of those morning go to the gym people. So we do all of us have our best hours where we are at our peak for the day. So morning is definitely not me. I am a 12 to 3 girl. That is when I have the most energy. I'm the most alert. I am the most productive. And so that is when I go for my run, and it's, just when I think best. And so, but in my morning routine, the first thing I do is check emails, because I am in business for myself. And so I want to respond to those urgent messages that I have from clients that I'm mentoring, or, businesses that might've reached out to me. So I check email. I don't get on Facebook, but I check Facebook messages, because that's where a lot of people will communicate with me today. Like, I can't do my call today. Do we need to reschedule? So I want to make sure that my day is, still, I know exactly where my day is going. And then I also, with the people that I mentor, there's always promised material. Like, I will, within the next 24 hours, I will get you this information to listen to and, read or whatever and prep for our next call. So I make sure that all of the things that I have promised my clients have gone out. I check my accounts. I'm sort of crazy about that. I have to check my accounts every day, make sure that nothing unusual is there.
Right. Gives you peace of mind.
Yeah. So my first calls are usually at 8 a.m. my time. And so that just gives me a couple of hours to do those things and get it all done. Or I might be setting up some trainings that I'm going to be doing for people to register for or whatever. So all of that is done in the morning before I start doing my mentoring calls or training calls.
And you said you weren't a morning person, but your call started at 8 a.m. So I know that's probably a lot of that has to do with the time difference of some of your clients, but I think that just shows you can be flexible or need to be flexible sometimes in your business to meet, the demands of the business. But I love that. I love what you said about knowing your key time in the day. Like, how did you learn what that was? Like your 12 to 10, was it 10 to 3, 12 to 3? What did
12
you
to
say?
3. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
12
So
to 3.
for someone who's listening, like they're probably like that. I think sometimes it just is innate, but was there a day it was like, it just clicked for you and you're like, oh, this is my key time. This is when I know I'm like in the zone.
I guess by reading something, Martine,
Okay.
but we hear people say, I'm just not a night person, or I'm a night owl, or I'm a morning person, or I'm not a morning person. So we kind of know that, but I don't think that we realize what that really means. But after reading an article that just talked about go to the gym during your peak hours, or do your writing during your peak hours, or whatever it is that's really important to you, make sure you're doing it when you're at your best. When are you at your best? When are you the most alert? When do you have the most energy? So it was just an aha moment for me that, oh, I never really even thought about that. I just, run when I have time, or I work when I have time. And so it just made me much more intentional about doing those important things when I am at my peak. I mean, Bob gets up whistling, and I'm like, oh, really? he just wants to chatter away. I'm like, coffee. I just need coffee.
I have a t-shirt that says no talkie before coffee.
Yes, exactly. And his workout time is 3:00. And I mean, you couldn't get me out the door to run after that. I'm just like, nope, done. It's just almost like something
Your brain
clicks.
just shuts down. Your body just shuts down. Yes.
Yeah. 3:00. I don't have time to energy to run anymore. So we just, I didn't even think about it in that way until I read this article. But
okay. Well, again, a good takeaway is to really think about when are you finding you have the most energy. And a mom right now that has littles is clearly rolling her eyes because she's like, I am exhausted every day. What are you talking about?
Every minute of the day.
Every minute of the day, I'm exhausted. But, start paying attention. Self-awareness and knowledge is power. Knowledge implemented is even more powerful. So really just writing the things down and taking note of when you find you have the energy or you have the want to work on your side hustle or your passion or things that you just want to do for yourself. So have you, I talk about burnout a good bit, and it's really kind of the reason that I wanted to start this podcast, because I do believe there's a better way to build a business without burning yourself out consistently. And there are a lot of mompreneurs who are walking around constantly in a state of burnout. Have you ever experienced burnout before?
So many times. Yes. I mean, and a couple of times there was really no way around it because I was for most of my married life, I'm not married anymore, but for most of my married life, I was the sole breadwinner. And so no matter what kind of a lifestyle we were going to have, I still had to work pretty hard to make sure that it was provided for the family.
Right.
So building my own organization, I just found myself, as I mentioned earlier, just working way too hard. And in hindsight, one of the things that I can teach people to do today is the important things that they need to be doing that moves the needle, and forget about those unimportant things. But I just found myself doing those unimportant things. And so just working way too many hours and being exhausted, but also corporately, which has nothing to do with being a mompreneur. But when you are corporate, which is another reason to be a mompreneur, yes. You are at their beck and call, and totally you have to do what they tell you to do. And, and the bigger your role is corporately, the more hours they expect. You have to sort of earn your keep. Where when you're a mompreneur, you don't have to earn your keep. You can make more money and work a lot less. But so I would say corporately is where I was the most exhausted and working the hardest. But there was no choice there. But then building my own organization, I just made mistakes and worked too much. But
do you remember what you did to kind of relieve that, like to recover from the burnout? Was it a time management thing where you just kind of pulled back on the work? Did you have a peer group that you reached out to? I mean, was there anything specific you can remember that you did to help kind of recover from that?
I think it was, I shouldn't say that differently. It was setting those start times and stop times. As a mompreneur, you have control over that. So we just need to shut down and sort of recuperate ourselves, just rest and come to the next day ready to go again. The more you work and the harder you work, the less you really have to give. It's less of what you are capable of giving because you're so tired. And then you begin to resent the business, and your family begins to resent the business, and it's just this hamster wheel that we don't want to get on. So start times and stop times is my best advice.
Well, and I think the stop time, but really both the start and the stop time, really establishing those, the hardest part about establishing those is guilt. So you either feel guilty as a mom because you're working when you think you should, need to be spending more time with your kids, or you feel guilty when you're with your kids that you should be spending more time at work. And, because you coached me for, over 10 years, that mom guilt is real. And, I have experienced it. Was that something that you really dealt with when you were building your business, when your kids were at home? Do you have a lot of mom guilt? And if you did, what's your best tip for overcoming it?
I think, even if we're working a full-time job or we're a mompreneur, we feel mom guilt because there's just something that society puts out there that says that mom's priority are the kids and the family, and dad's priority is to work. But how many of us today have that opportunity to be a stay-at-home mom? I mean, not many women have that opportunity. So society makes us feeling guilty for a position that we've been forced into, not necessarily forced into, but we just, in order to survive today, both, it's got to be a 2-parent working household, but we're supposed to do both. And it's okay for dad to come home and take off his shoes and, get in front of the ball game. So we're conditioned to feel guilty and kind of pushed into that. So I think it's just realizing that, and reminding yourself that when you are working, that you are providing, whether it's part-time as a mompreneur or full-time as a corporate person, or full-time as a mompreneur, you are contributing a good portion of how your family lives and what your family is able to do, whether it's just pay the bills and have a wonderful house that you live in, and any house that you live in is wonderful, or you're able to travel a bit, or it's because of you that you get to eat out once in a while. I mean, just what do you provide for your family? But I think also there's the financial side of what you are contributing, and so you stop feeling guilty for something that is making your family's life better. But also because you are modeling something for your kids. And I think that we need to be really aware that when we're in business for ourselves and we have goals and we have dreams and we work hard, I've said this already, but it bears repeating, is we are persistent, and all of those things strong work ethic, all those things that we want to instill in our children, people learn better through watching than telling. So they see that in you, and whether they know it at the moment or not, they probably don't, but they will later. And they'll come back to you and say, you were such an inspiration to me. And so it's the model that we are for our family and our children. And it's also what we are contributing to that should free us of that mom guilt and stop letting society tell us that we need to be doing more and more and more. I mean, it's all over Facebook and everywhere else, is just appreciate yourself, love yourself. The whole world is trying to tell us to do that.
Right. And to slow down long enough to really look back and see the impact that you're having as a mom. And, it is hard in the moment. And as a mom of teens now, I can tell you when they were little, I did struggle with this. And I remember one of the things that you shared with me that really helped was just making it super obvious of the extras that we had, or all the things that we had, was, because of not just my business, because my husband's also an entrepreneur, but because of his business. So like when we would go special places, to say, thank you 31, or thank you Grand Strand Power Equipment, just to make it so super obvious to them on why, when I am working, when I'm not with them or not able to do some of the things that they were used to, this was why. And now that they're teenagers, I will say it was so cute. The other day, Lucas came down as I was working on this podcast and he was like, I'm really proud of you, Mom. Like, you've been working really hard on this podcast and it's going to be amazing. And I just looked at him like, what did you do with my teenager?
Oh, I just got chills.
Where did he go? Because it's tough. I mean, when they kind of enter those beginning stages, of course, of being a teenager, it's tough because, of course, we know nothing. And that was just a really amazing moment for me because all the years that I did struggle with guilt early on, it's paying off because, like you said, they're watching and they're seeing what I'm doing. And I truly hope that it's going to inspire the entrepreneurship in both of my boys, because it's been such a huge blessing for all of us, for my entire family. So love this. I hope that you ladies are taking lots of notes and really thinking about what is causing the guilt? Where is it coming from? And is it just misplaced guilt that doesn't even belong there? Like, it's like you said, society is trying to make you feel like you should just keep doing and doing and doing. So I think I want to wrap up with just asking you, if you really had a chance to talk to all from mompreneurs of the world, just for a few minutes, knowing what you know now, what would you want to make sure that they understood?
I think that just reminding you that you work for you, that's part of it. If you're a mompreneur, you chose the business that you did because it's something that you're passionate about, that you're excited about, or that you want to share with the world, or that you want to give back. But you started this business because it was important to you. And it was, in most cases, one of your passions. I mean, Martine, I certainly look at you and know that what you are doing with Choose You it's a passion of yours. You just care so much about women, which is one of the reasons that you were so successful in your other business for over 10 years. I mean, I think we started coaching in 2008, so it's been a long time. And
yes,
you have been, without question, the most successful person I've ever coached. Anybody who has been on a training with me or I've coached, they feel like they know you like a sister, because I talk about you so well. Martine, I mean, when I was coaching, Martine does, so you have, and when I talk about you, I say, she is the most respected person at 31 and always has been, because she fought so fiercely for that balance, but she also built one of the most incredible businesses at 31 Gifts. So she walks down the hall at National Conference and everybody knows who she is. Everybody respects her. Nobody looks at her and says, yeah, but she works too hard. They know your ethics. They know your fierce protection of family, but they also know that you work hard in your business and really work with your team and your personal business. But back to you started your business for you, and it's a passion of yours, and you get something out of this. It fills you up somehow. So don't forget that your business is important for you in that mental health state, in that confident state, in that belief in yourself, feeling like you're doing something that's important. So your business is for you, and it's also so that your family can benefit. And I think that's where we're able to let go of that guilt, is so that your family can benefit. And Martine, I've been in your home. I've seen your home. And I remember driving up and going, is this a resort or is this your house? It's like, so your family, and I know your lifestyle with your boat and your travels, and your business is a big part, and I know Shaz is as well, but your business is also a big part of the things that your family is able to do, which is wonderful. One of the things I always say is it's never the money, it's what the money can do. Yes. So to be able to let go of that guilt and just get excited instead, replace that guilt with, hey, forget that. I'm not going to feel guilty about this. I am doing something important. It fills me up, and my family gets to do a lot of cool things because of this business. So, stop picking on me. I'm doing great things here.
Right.
So
look yourself in the mirror and say those things to yourself. Right.
Yes,
for sure. All right. So I want to wrap up with just asking you some of your favorite things. So what is your favorite book? Do you have like, I know you read a lot, but what has been like your favorite book?
I love it. Reading is one of my passions for sure. And I don't even have to think for a second. I read this book the first year I was in this industry of direct sales, and I've read it every year since. There's more highlighted sections in that book than there is not highlighted. But it's called See You at the Top by Zig Ziglar. And it has nothing to do with my industry. It just has to do with how we think and how we can change things. And it's just the most inspiring, but just great motivational book I've ever read. I recommend it to anybody.
How did I know Zig Ziglar was going to come up in this podcast?
Can't help myself.
Which totally leads me into the next question. What's your favorite quote or mantra? Is it a Zig Ziglar quote?
Nope, it's actually one of mine, and I say it all the time to people. I mean, I have so many Ziglar quotes, but it's everything is bigger in your head than it is in reality. I say that, I feel like, on a daily basis to people that I am mentoring in different trainings. Martine, you sort of said that about this podcast. You put it off because you felt like it was going to be so big of a task, and I felt exactly the same way when people like you were telling me that I needed to do. What was that? Now it's lives on Facebook, but before that it was Periscope.
Periscope.
Yeah.
Periscope days. Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I should. Nope. It's too big.
Nope.
It's too big. You should do live, Shari. You would just crush it. Like, yeah, I should. Nope. It's like, I knew that it would do great things, both of those for my business, but it was just the idea of learning how to do a Zoom or a live or a Periscope, things that would put me, in the 21st century were just so overwhelming and daunting. And I'm sure you feel the same way about these podcasts, but the second I turned off my first live, stopped the recording or turned off my first Zoom into that one, it was like, really? This is what I've been so afraid of for 2 freaking years.
Right.
And, my business went crazy when I started doing lives and doing Zooms, and people felt like, okay, you joined us and, in today's world. So thank you for that. So it's just, everything is bigger in our own head than it is in reality, no matter what it is. It's just, we just get hiring an assistant,
right?
Doing this, whatever it is, it feels like so huge of a task, and it's not.
Yeah.
Just get in there, do it. You'll move forward faster and better, and you'll stop stressing about it. Like, I should be doing this. I should be doing this. I should.
Right. Well, we either win or we learn.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of look at it in that way, and just pull the trigger. Pull the trigger, people. Just take that first step, and then you'll have the next step and the next step and the next step. So, what is your favorite way to choose you? I'm going to bring this up. So what's something that you do that's just for Shari, like that you love doing?
Again, I don't even have to hesitate. It's golf. We probably golf 3 or 4 times a week, and it's my total escape. I don't think about anything else but my golf game. And I'm out on a beautiful golf course with beautiful vistas, and I'm getting exercise, but even more than that, it's golfing alone, because I get to just be by myself. And I do just a lot of, sometimes I sit at the tee box for like 5 minutes, like, I should hit the ball. But I kind of get lost in my own thoughts of just daydreaming and enjoying the day and just being totally alone with no pressures. And it's total escape for me.
Love it. And I would have never, when we first started talking, ever started coaching, ever believed that you were going to pick up the game of golf. It's so fun. I love watching you get into that. So I have some friends that are wanting to start learning. My best friend's like, I think I'm going to pick up golf. I'm like, yeah, you have fun with that. I'm good. I'm not going to do golf.
It's hard.
You do you, but that's not for me. Well, this was so fun, Shari. Thank you so much for just being willing to be vulnerable and just share your successes, share the areas, of opportunity for growth that you've had over the years as a mompreneur. And how can people connect with you? So if there is someone who is in direct selling and is looking for a direct sales coach, like, where's the best place for them to connect with you?
You can find me on Facebook and message me, Shari McAllister, or I have an Average to Excellence business page. So either way, you can get me there. Or you can email me at Shari, and it's Shari at average2excellence.com.
Perfect. I will put all of those links in the show notes for those of you that are listening and you're like, I can't write all that down. So I'll include that all in the show notes for you, so you'll know how to connect with her. But thanks again, Shari, for being here. And thank you all for listening today and for supporting this podcast and for really just championing around this mission of burnout proofing your life and your business as a mompreneur. I'm on mission, and I'm so thankful that you're here to listen. So until next time, I am believing in you always.
Thanks for having me.
Well, that's a wrap, friends, for this week's episode of the Mompreneur Life Remixed podcast. Thank you so much for listening and for following the show. It means so much to me. And listen, friend, sharing is caring. So if you loved this episode and thought of some fellow mompreneurs who could benefit, send them the link. Share this episode or take a screenshot and head on over to Instagram and share and tag me at Martine31Williams. We are connected on Instagram, right? It's where you will get all the fun behind the scenes of my life and business as a mompreneur. Until next time, know that I am believing in you always.